Hey everybody. Okay, so today's wonderful video featuring me, not my kid. Fuck that shit. Sorry. Um anyway, so I hate everything about having to do these videos. But anyway, today what we're going to talk about is Emily Dickinson. I have now graded your Rollinson short essays, so that's done. Your reader responses are due tonight by midnight. Okay. What else? If you notice, number one, I sent you an email. Okay. And in that email has the new dates for assignments with their corresponding due dates. So just be aware of that. I did post the assignments with their due dates at the top of like our Canvas homepage. So just take a look. If you have questions, ask. Honestly, the best way to, be able to do all this is if you ask questions. Please utilize the GroupMe. I've noticed that really nobody's responding, and that makes me slightly nervous in this kind of situation. But then again, I have a lot of anxiety over things like this. So that's that. That's my own bullshit to deal with. Okay, so I think, let me just take a look at everything else. So we will now, I guess, we'll talk about, I don't know. I try to keep myself organized. It's not really working out so well because this is just, shit's going down fast. That's all I got to say. Anyway, so we'll talk about Emily Dickinson. Now, Emily Dickinson is my girl. Let me fangirl a little bit because I absolutely love her. She's my favorite poet, which is probably why I actually chose to put her on the syllabus anyway. But aside from that, she was born in December of 1830. She died May of 1886. So she was only 56 years old. Bad at math again, but that's okay. She had a brother and a sister. She did not want any of her poetry to be published. She did it mostly as like an escape mechanism, much how we maybe journal or blog or, vent to our friends. She wrote poetry as a way to deal with life and deal with death. She had a very hard time dealing with death, which is why most of her poems are focused around that. And there's a lot that are also focused on love. She had a very good friendship with a man named Thomas Wentworth Higgins or Higginson. I can't remember. I have that book somewhere. Yes, I met some author that wrote a book on her and this man named Thomas. Her name is Brenda Winapple, not Pineapple, Winapple. She autographed my book. Sorry. Just geeking out just slightly because it was great. And my kid's coming, which is so fun. Isn't that going to be fun? Okay, let me tell you. COVID quarantine day 534. I've realized I really don't like my kid. Yes, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. Use your hands. He can't open the door, he says. Okay, so I don't know what to tell you, baby. Try real hard. Okay. Can you open the door? What do you need? You're slightly annoying.
I'm calling you.
I heard you calling me. Okay, so anyway, back to what I was saying. So some of her writings were based around people in her life dying. Bye bye. And because I'm doing a video. So anyway, Wordsworth. Oh, that's right. Okay. Sorry, I'm re-familiarizing myself with things that I have since forgotten. So anyway, she had a very good relationship, with people as she got older, with multiple people, but not a romantic relationship. Anyway, So when she was at Amherst Academy, before that she went to, before or after, I can't remember, she went to Mount Holyoke. But she was very close with her sister-in-law, Susan, and they wrote many, they had many correspondences. And if you look up any of Dickinson's writings, you will see that there's many letters to this person, letters from this person, that she published, or she had published rather, because she did not publish anything. However, many will interpret this relationship between Emily and Susan as homoerotic, meaning that they had feelings of lust between them, but they never did anything about it. So it was just kind of an on paper relationship. I guess it's what we would call a sexting, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so her mom, I know that I'm jumping kind of ahead. Her mom died in 82. Okay. And this is about 4 years, I believe, before she dies. She couldn't leave. She was afraid to leave her mother. She has these huge anxiety issues, and she has a big problem with death. She doesn't quite know how to deal with death, which is probably why she writes so many poems related to death and such. But I think she feels the same way about love, which maybe many of us can attest to. I really don't know. But anyway, so now I think what I'm going to show you is one of two poems that we're going to look at. You don't have an assignment attached to Emily Dickinson, so just know that I'm really just rambling on about her because I love her. Anyway, let's take a gander. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so this first poem is Because I Could Not Stop for Death. Now, obviously, these are two poems that we would go over in class, and then you would leave feeling very, depressed and sad. But anyway, I'm going to try to make the best of it. Sorry. So 479 is the number of poems, the number that it was published. Okay, so Because I Could Not Stop for Death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste. And I had put away my labor and my leisure too, for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamer, my gown, my tippet, only tulle. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horses' heads were towards eternity. Okay, so now with this, there's a lot of personification. So the first stanza, okay, the first stanza refers to the first four lines, okay, and then the second, third, so on and so forth. So she says that death is now a person along with immortality. Okay, so she has now died, and death is bringing her to the afterlife in a carriage, and immortality is essentially sitting next to her. Immortality is not truly a person in this aspect. However, it's an idea, because now as she goes into the afterlife, in the afterlife, she is immortal. Okay, so we slowly drove because you really have no rush to get anywhere when you're dead. So she puts away her ideas of labor and leisure for his, being death, civility. Okay, so she's trying to be civil because there's no sense of not being civil. You're dead. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. So this idea is, ringing around the rosy, which we all know has a very bad meaning to it. Fields of gazing grain in the setting sun. So these are now just, oh my God, ideas of imagery. Okay, so setting sun, gazing grain. It's also supposed to be a little bit of alliteration, except it kind of sucks. So it's not really alliteration. Okay, or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill, so now it's getting colder. For only gossamer, my gown, my tippet, only tulle. So gossamer is a fabric. So her gown is made of gossamer, and she's getting cold because as you go into death and enter death, you become cold, or at least that's the idea. That's what's shown in movies. That's, we associate dying with getting cold. So that's where that comes in. gossamers. The fabric of her gown and her tippet, or hat, is only made of tulle, which is very thin, and her hat and her gloves would be part of her tippet. So they're only tulle. They're very thin fabric. She's not very warm. And then she says, we paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. Okay, so now inside the ground, okay, if you imagine that the ground is a hill, inside of that hill is carved a house. Okay, this is what we would refer to as a mausoleum. Okay, the roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Okay, so every part of it except for the roof is inside the ground. Since then, the day that she died, 'tis centuries. It's been a long time since she died, but it still feels shorter than the day she first surmised or saw the horses' heads going towards eternity. So now these horses could be the 4 horsemen of death, okay? So, or it could be the horses from the carriage that were bringing her to her eternal resting place. So anyway, how was that for depressing? I think I did pretty good. Anyway, this is much more fun in person, I promise. It's hard to do when nobody's talking back to me. Not even my kid, but I told him to leave. Okay, so the second one can kind of piggyback off of it, or it can go before it, however you feel like looking at it. This is probably my favorite poem of Dickinson's, and I know that I'm just kind of rambling. But anyway, I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us, don't tell. They'd advertise, you know. How dreary to be somebody, how public like a frog, to tell one's name to live long June, it should be live long day, to an admiring bog. Now, this is very short. This is only 2 stanzas, whereas the last one was 4 or 5, 5, 6. Just kidding, I can't count, okay? So this is much more about herself, less about actual death. So she is saying that she is a nobody, and she's asking the reader, are you also a nobody? There's a pair of us. Don't tell, they'd advertise. So that means if you have 2 nobodies, then you're a somebody. Okay, because if you as nobody has a nobody as a friend, then you too are somebody. How dreary to be somebody. How public, like a frog. Now think of a frog. How do they make themselves known? They ribbit, they croak, they have that really, okay, I know that was lovely. But they can't really make themselves scarce or unknown. They have this like instinct and need to make that noise. So that's why she's saying that they're public like a frog. Okay, to tell one's name, to live long June. Now, different variations say the live long day, because sometimes days are just very long, but June is one of the longest months out of the year, or at least that's how it feels because of the solstice and things like that. To an admiring bog. Frogs live in bogs. Okay, now think of it like a Kardashian. Okay, I hate them, but here we are. It's the world we live in. Okay, so how dreary to be a Kardashian, how public, like maybe Kylie or Kim or Courtney or Chloe. I can't remember the other girl's name. Kendall, that's her name, Kendall. So they're constant, they don't ever get to just be without the public on them. So how dreary it is to be that somebody, how public they have to be constantly. So would you rather then be that nobody, or would you rather constantly be a somebody? So that's the kind of question that she's posing here, is which would you rather have? Now this one's not nearly as depressing as the first one, but it does have a very melancholy tone to it, underlying theme. So I don't know, what do you guys think of this? Emily Dickinson has a ton of other poems, obviously, but these are 2 of her most famous. She has another one, Tell the Truth but Tell It Slant, or Hope is the Thing with Feathers. My life stood a loaded gun. I heard a fly buzz in my brain, or I heard a funeral in my brain, something like that. There's something that she heard in her brain. I heard a fly buzz, then I died. I think that's what that one is. Anyway, okay, so now I want to stop the share. Okay, so here's your assignments for the week. We have, or I have, open office hours on Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So if you need to speak with me and you want to have a face-to-face, and obviously since we can't do it in person, I'm going to publish a link that you would click on and insert the password. I'll put that as well on Canvas. So if you feel like having that one-on-one face-to-face thing, you can certainly log in and have a chat, even if it's just to say like, what the hell's going on? What do we do? That's fine. Next thing is I do need you to notice that there will be discussion questions, whether they're related to the topic at hand or not. It doesn't really matter at this point. You need to at least respond to one discussion per week. Obviously, I would love for you to respond to all of them, but for me to take attendance, I need you to respond to at least one so that I know you're okay. With that being said, I think the next thing that's coming up is the sonnet. The sonnet will be due on Monday. On Friday, in the recorded video, I will have a how-to on the sonnet and an explanation of the sonnets, and we'll go over all of that together. So don't freak out. Try not to freak out. Freak out a little less than what you actually probably are doing. I think that's essentially it. Your fifth reader response is due this Wednesday. That's your compare and contrast of Tupac to Hughes, and then a poem and song of your choice. Okay, that's due Wednesday by midnight. That's today by midnight. So that's Wednesday, and then Friday we're doing the sonnets, and sonnet is due on Monday. You are then essentially going to be on your own for reading Taming of the Shrew. I can't hold you to anything. There's not going to be a test on it, but you will be writing a short essay. Let's see, what else? Maybe I'll pull up those dates real fast. Let's share. Let's do this. Okay, share. Okay, so right here you can see updated schedule of assignments. This is our homepage. Okay, so your reader response due the 18th. That's today. Your sonnet next Monday. Taming the Shrew needs to be completed by April 3rd. So you kind of have like a week and a half or so off of assignments. So if you want to get yourself kind of going with your research paper topic and such, that's totally fine. Remember, your topic cannot be abortion and it cannot be marijuana. Those are the only two off-limit topics that I have right now. Other than that, everything else is going to then go to research paper. You guys are very much on your own. I know that it can be scary, and I'm sorry that I can't do more. If you guys need a one-on-one and not an open office hours, please tell me. I will schedule something with you guys. We'll make it work. Other than that, I don't know if there's much else. That's all I got for now, I guess. So I will see you guys you'll see me in the next video. And then if you guys pop in on Friday to the open office hours, I will see you then. I hope you all are doing well, staying safe, washing your damn hands. I think that's all I got. So bye, guys.